No.
President Biden delivers his first address to a joint session of Congress tomorrow, and the White House tells NBC News he is, quote, deeply involved in its development. Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the president will lay out specific details of his American Families Plan that will expand health care, child care, college tuition assistance, and other domestic agenda items. The White House says police reform is also a priority. We're also told the president will not wear a mask during his speech, but Vice President Kamala Harris and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will. Join us tomorrow night on Peacock, where Joe, Willie, and I will be covering the president's address. Our coverage begins. Get ready, guys. It's going to be okay. At 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to follow the whole speech through, like analyze after for quite some time. It is late for us, but I'm excited. I can't wait.
I'm asleep by 6
You're not going to be tomorrow night.
So, Eugene Daniels, what are we expecting to hear from the president tomorrow night?
I mean, a couple of things that we're expecting to hear is health care, possibly because he has another bill that they're putting forward, their kind of American Families Plan, which is going to look at college payments, it's going to look at health care, all types of things that we've been talking about and haven't really been spending a lot of time on. And this is health care outside of the COVID-19 pandemic, right? This is Medicare for all. This is the debate over a public option, all of those kinds of things that we're going to start hearing from this White House. It's interesting because this other plan that the president may be laying out tomorrow is going to cost more money. And so we're going to see the president talk about COVID-19, how they've handled this pandemic, but also infrastructure, how they've promised all that money. They're going to be promising to spend more money, leaning into that kind of big government deal. You like this $2 trillion bill? I have another one for you, and maybe even another one. I think that part of it is pretty fascinating.
Yes, Steve Ratner and I are shaking about that right now, shaking about the deficits and the debt and the inflationary pressures. And again, this is not something that's going to impact us, but it is something that's going to impact people possibly 10, 15 years from now, maybe even sooner. But Miki, you look at the polling that is out there, and I want to go over these numbers with Steve, because we're definitely the minority. You look at the polling out there, and whether it was the COVID bill, whether it's a transportation bill, these are extremely popular with American people.
Well, the latest Monmouth University poll finds widespread support for the president's big domestic policy items. 68% support his infrastructure and jobs plan. 29% oppose. As for the president's spending plan, 64% support the proposal to expand health care, child care, and college tuition assistance. 34% are opposed. When asked which plan is more important, the majority of those polled, 54%, said both infrastructure and health care are equally important. 21% said health care should be a priority, while 19% said infrastructure. And when it comes to paying for it all, 64% support raising taxes on corporations and 65% support raising taxes on individuals, making them more than $400,000 a year. And Joe, you know, if you remember, Donald Trump's pledge was to make America great again. And I think a lot of people for years have been looking at our infrastructure, those who have the ability, comparing it to other countries, and it has been an issue for a long time. And I think they look at the potential of having an infrastructure overhaul in this country as good news.
Yeah, and I think they do as well. And Steve, if we wanted to find the Reagan era, which I was an eager participant of from 1980 to 2020, if you want to look at the Reagan era, it could be defined as such. We're going to give you FDR's benefits. We're just not going to pay for them. And you're going to get all the government that you need, that you want. Sometimes it'll be less than other times, but taxes will not be raised. There's a lot to look at here. I'm not shocked that 65% of Americans want better health care. I'm not shocked that 64% of Americans want a better infrastructure plan. I'm not really shocked, given the vast income disparity between the rich and the poor, that Americans are more than comfortable raising taxes on corporations and people making over $400,000. But that really, though, hasn't happened in the past. There has been a reflexive just say no to any new taxes. And I think this is more evidence of what we've been saying all along. That is that we have moved beyond the Reagan era. And in 2021, we are moving into a new political chapter in American history.
I think that's exactly right, Joe. The Reagan era, and of course Reagan's famous inaugural speech when he said that big government was essentially the problem and not the solution, followed 20 years of failed, more interventionist, more forward-leaning programs. Of course, the Johnson Great Society, the inflation, and so on that occurred after that. And we've had 40 years of that. And the sea change in American opinion today is striking, that Americans now want more progressive government. They want government to lean in. They want government to advance all these programs. And they're willing to pay for them, although I would note that the tax proposals so far, and Biden's been very firm about this, are only designed at people $400,000 and above. And I suspect most Americans would be pretty fine with that. But yes, we're in a whole different era of government here, both on the tax side as well as on the spending side. There's no question about that in the incredible number of proposals and programs that the new president has rolled out in a very, very short period of time.
And Willie, it's really breathtaking that you have Joe Biden, a guy that somebody yesterday said is succeeding. I think it was John Chait saying he's succeeding by boring the Republicans to death. Yeah. And it goes back to, again, what I always said about Republicans. They should be more like Reagan, where they're ideologically conservative but moderate temperamentally. Joe Biden is moderate temperamentally, but he's progressive in just about every way when it comes to his ideology. And again, let's look back again for younger viewers that don't remember. Ronald Reagan said the most frightening words in the English language were, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." You look at the COVID relief plan. You look at the infrastructure plan. You look at the health care plan. You look at all these other plans that Joe Biden is pushing, and they're all, again, getting 65, 70. If it's COVID relief, a 75% approval rating. It clearly shows those days of automatically being suspicious of any government program are in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not you like the policy, it's been an extraordinary first 100 days, and extraordinary to think that Joe Biden was the centrist candidate in that Democratic field for the last 2 years when he was running for president of the United States. That was the concern among progressives. He was too centrist. And if you talk to progressives now, if you talk to Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, frankly, they've been surprised by how progressive he's been. They've been surprised by how much they've gotten from them, surprised by the agenda that he has pushed so hard. And Victoria, if you really tick down the list for the first 100 days, again, many people may not agree with what he's doing, but you can't help but stop and pause and say, my gosh, he certainly has done a lot.
And he's very popular in terms of certain programs. My worry, though, Willie, is the selling of these programs. And we do see that the Biden administration is on track for that, because I keep going back to the Obama administration, and we saw the Affordable Health Care Act pass, one of the largest policy pieces that we've ever seen in the history of the United States. But then folks forgot about it. Folks did not connect how it affected their lives. So I think what's important is when we're looking at these high numbers, remembering that these are snapshots in time. Public opinion, we're fresh off of the election. We're fresh off of the passage of the COVID bill. But what's going to happen in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? So I think the Biden administration has a tall order in terms of going out and connecting the policy dots with folks all across the country. And we see that they're starting to do that with certain segments of the population. But this is so important. If he wants to extend out that honeymoon, if he wants to make sure that once we get into 200 days, 300 days, that the American public is still thinking about what the government has done for them.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.